Hi, I'm Evin Shutt, Global CEO at 72andSunny, and I'm joined here by my friend Mark Kirkham from PepsiCo. I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks for
I'm
joining
super
us.
psyched to be here. Thanks, Evan. This is awesome.
And we are here at Sport Beach in Cannes, where we are celebrating the intersection of sport culture and fandom. And you are a founding partner of Sport Beach. You are on the board of Sport Beach.
Yep.
Gatorade is obviously front and center, everything here. Actually, hard to imagine a Sport Beach without Gatorade.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
No, it's been an incredible partnership for the last 4 years, and it's really special because what you've created with Sport Beach and what we've helped to generate in terms of sport culture at Cannes is second to none, and it's been really, really special to be part of it.
It's incredible. Well, speaking of that, obviously PepsiCo has an incredibly rich history in sports. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that relationship when you think about your portfolio of Mark oversees pretty much anything liquid, as I like to say, when it comes to PepsiCo products, and how you think about that portfolio in sport and your strategies around that. Obviously, Gatorade front and center, but others are obviously involved.
Yeah, I think it's important to, any brand that's associated with sports, as you said, for decades, PepsiCo across our portfolio has been involved in sport, has a very clear understanding of what the role it plays. I think too many brands just sponsor things for the sake of visibility or association. But the reality is that sport is a vehicle of storytelling, of equity building, and connection. And that's what fandom's all about. And I think for us, it started decades ago through partnerships with teams, with clubs, with leagues. But actually where it's become special and very, very kind of ingrained in the culture is when we were actually part of the fabric of sport, or when we were telling stories that were rooted in the culture of sport. Obviously, Gatorade is the easy one, right? I mean, it was born on the field and born in the lab and brought to life on the field, and it's been core to everything we do in our many sponsorships. But if you look at Pepsi and Pepsi's association with both pop culture, culinary culture, and sport, how we brought that together in different ways. Those are that's the magic sauce when a brand can find a way to be culturally relevant, but also use culture to be relevant. If you can find that connection, sport is a magical thing to do, but you got to do it right. You got to be able to measure it. You have to know how it drives your business, and you have to make sure that it's authentic to what the brand stands for. And I think we've done a good job. There's still plenty of ways to learn and continue to evolve. But whether it's Champions League, the NFL, our partnerships with the Knicks that we did some great work this year, all of those things actually allow us to be special. And each brand does it's a different role. Major League Baseball and Baja Blast. Now every home run over 420 is a Baja Blast.
I
How
love
fun
that.
is that?
It's so fun.
So the more we can connect with culture through our partnerships, the better.
I've been so impressed too with your constant evolution and tweaking of it. At PepsiCo, we were talking about this with your team recently in the halftime show, and the evolution of how we want to connect with our consumers is different now than what that serves, but you still have a huge partnership with the NFL. It just looks different in how it comes to life.
Yeah, I mean, we had an amazing partnership with the halftime show, but I think what's interesting is that as time evolves, you feel you can even do more, and you can tell different stories. And I think, and you can see it even with the NFL itself. The NFL is telling much broader stories about the sport of football and the cultural connection to football. It's not just about a game. It's about the community. And so when we kind of moved on from the halftime show, we've now turned it into a platform to talk about food deserves Pepsi. We've looked for ways to let Gatorade be more than just about being on the sidelines, but being in the community and being part of, really driving the story of health and hydration. And I think that's the difference that, as you evolve a partnership over many years, you find new ways to work together.
Totally. Speaking of Gatorade, I'm just going to keep on that one for a minute.
Sure.
And I think, broader than that, but you personally have been a huge advocate for women's sports.
Yes.
You're heavily involved in making sure that platform and this movement that we find ourselves in now continues to build, continue to support it. Can you talk more about why you think that's important, both for you personally and then also for your brands?
I mean, personally, I'm a girl dad, so I've got a almost 17 and 19-year-old, and I think just being involved in sports with my daughters was an important part of just my life. But also being someone that always looks at things through the lens of both personal passion and business. The business of women's sport has been an opportunity for decades, and people just didn't take advantage of it. If you go back in history, Pepsi or Gatorade put Mia Hamm in a commercial with Michael Jordan in 1997.
That is
and that
awesome.
is a long time ago. And yet today, we're now saying, oh, look, there's a great opportunity here. So I think it's taken time for us, whether it's the work we're doing with the Women's Euros, Women's Champions League, what we've done the WNBA, what we've done with different clubs and teams. I think it's just elevated the importance that brands play in really giving that sport opportunity to grow. Ultimately, when brands get involved in sports, they are actually part of their marketing vehicle. And women's sport now has that. And it has the momentum. It has the investment. The players are getting what they deserve. The leagues are being, profitable. But there's still work to be done. And I think brands have to take that seriously and decide, hey, what is my role? How can I be part of this? How can it help me connect with a new consumer group? When you go to a women's soccer game or you go to a women's NBA, it's a different fan base. It's a different environment, and there's so many opportunities to make real connections with their fans.
And how to build that relationship, because while the viewership's not there yet when you look at all of the data, although I think quite a few of the women's sports are outpacing the men's sports, so just to be clear, but also the how you connect, to your point, becomes the bigger opportunity, because the women's sports fan, it's not the same. Their experience is not the same. What they want from a brand is not.
92,000 people went to a women's volleyball game in Nebraska. That
right.
says a lot. And I think, there's still opportunity. And I think it's also how you value certain partnerships and in women's sport may be different. It may not be about broadcast viewership. And I think that's a good thing, because broadcast viewership is so much more fragmented, and we can tell so many stories in so many different ways, both in the men's game and the women's game. So it's just about sport. It shouldn't be about women's and men's, but I think it's great to see so many brands getting behind the women's games across multiple sports.
Well, and kudos to Gatorade for being a leader in that. Oftentimes, once someone sees another big brand in there, they're like, oh, maybe we should be in there too. And clearly, there's bravery involved in that to jump in. But for you, as you said, kind of no-brainer. It makes sense for the business and what you're doing.
No, totally agree. And it's a commitment to the athletes and the next generation of athletes as well.
Yeah. Is there a brand inside the PepsiCo beverage portfolio that you're itching to get more involved in sports with?
I think it's a really good question. I think it's not about whether a brand should get into sport. It's what is the role of sport for a brand. To kind of flip it on its head a little bit. I think an interesting one, and it's a bit random, and some people may not call it a sport, may call it entertainment, but we did a deal with Mug Root Beer and the WWE. And while some people may not say it's sport, it is entertainment, but it actually fits the brand. It fits the personality of the brand. It fits the consumer base of the brand. And, we just kicked it off a couple months ago. It's already a lot of fun. And what it's done is it's put it into a culture that is relevant, and it's consistent with what the brand stands for. So there's a good example. I think as sports evolve, brands are going to have to continuously ask what role they play. And that's just a really good example. I think there's a lot of great movement happening in things like women's volleyball, the professional leagues. Obviously, a lot of people getting excited about Sail GP. There's so many different sports. I think you just have to assess it. And the most important thing is it's not just a media valuation. I think too often people are looking at the value of sports properties based on impressions, and it should be about relevance, engagement, and really kind of brand building.
100%. I'm always like, the creativity is in the deal you do, not in the media rights deal that you make that then is handed to someone to be like, fill these the boards around it. The creativity is in how do you meaningfully and authentically bring your brand to life.
I think the worst words in all of sport are the term rights holder. It is the most transactional, lack of value term, and it's used in very, generically throughout the industry, and it makes it sound like it's a transaction, it's a sale. And the reality, and ultimately even sponsorship is a little bit too dated. Partnership and engagement and really storytelling through, shared belief systems, that's what sport's about.
100%. Speaking of partnership and success and everything, I see your Knicks hat.
Yes, yeah, go Knicks.
Obviously,
Knicks
love it. Can you talk a little bit about what you just did with that, with the Pepsi cans?
Yeah, so we did a couple things, and honestly, I'll be very transparent. We had probably not activated our partnership with MSG enough, particularly with the Pepsi brand. We've been a long-standing partner, renewed a couple years ago. Very good relationship with Doug and the team over there, and we were just, I kind of was frustrated that we weren't doing anything, and the Knicks go on this incredible run. I'm a Knicks fan, and literally I was out walking my dog. Doug from the Knicks called me, and he goes, hey, why can't we do cans? Now, in all honesty, making large scale amounts of cans is not something you can do overnight. But we created a great opportunity where we placed 5 cans, one in each borough. We dropped it on social. We had literally thousands of fans, got tons of PR searching bodegas for our cans, and we gave each person 2 tickets to our suite at MSG for which was Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and it was awesome. But that wasn't where we stopped. I mean, that was a fun way to kind of drive excitement and into the retail environment. But in the finals, my team was like, we got to do more. And they literally said, how can we connect with culture in a new way? And within 48 hours, they created an outdoor campaign, which is something I'm super proud of, called We Outside, which celebrates really the fans outside. And literally, Game 3 and Game 4, we had photography crews out on the streets capturing real fans. And within hours of Game 4, we took over all of our inventory throughout New York City and changed it to the We Outside campaign. Something I'm super proud. Gustavo Reno and the team did this work. And literally, I was at Game 4, which was an amazing experience.
Yes.
I was approving creative while walking the 14 blocks to get an Uber as I saw it and just say, go, 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 go. And that's what sport is all about.
I was going to say to the start of this conversation, driving culture, being in culture, real-time response.
100%.
And also a team that believes in the ability to do that, which is a real testament to
100%, yeah.
You're incredible. Speaking of your incredible team, I've been really excited as a new partner of PepsiCo and as we dig in at 72andSunny and we were just talking about how impressive your team is, you as a leader. What's important to you in an agency relationship?
Look, I think trust is number one, and trust is earned, and trust is nothing you can build in any one day or one project. It comes over time, and transparency is the other. Trust and transparency are probably the 2 most important things. I think a lot of agency relationships struggle because you try to make it perfect. You try to do everything in a black box and make it perfect and then show it to a client. It needs to be like a kitchen. This concept. It is messy and it's not perfect. And the best ideas usually don't show up in a deck. They show up in a side conversation, at a dinner, at a bar, or on the walk down the hallway. And I think this building relationships and trust, and you and I have known each other for years, but we haven't worked with each other that much. But that trust is what makes relationships grow, and I think it's what makes creativity stronger. I would say trust and transparency are the 2 most important things. And with all my partners, it's important that we just continue to build that.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
No, thank you.
More conversations to be had. We're here all week. You can follow along on 72andSunny's socials.